and you're going to call other people's thinking lazy or refusing to look at the truth or stubbornness or dishonesty. You think you get to call other people that? You're so transparent, child. Mathematics is a tool that human beings have created and are creating in order to express what we see around us, in order to quantify aspects of reality. Fortunately, we have built a good enough tool that it works rather well with adaptation. It has to be adapted as we learn more, not that the reality around us is radically altering, but that we have been taking baby steps and are educating ourselves as we go. Mathematics works because it is a good tool that we have found, a good language that we have found to explain and examine and investigate the world around us. Mathematics changes as we learn new things. I'm not saying 2 plus 2 is 4 changes, although under certain circumstances it truly and sincerely does. I'm saying that the formulas, the equations, have advanced as our ability to comprehend and to even investigate and question has advanced. Logic is a discipline by which human beings can speak to each other, carry on social discourse, and learn from each other, and approach reality in ways where we are disciplined to stick to facts, to things that can be verified and reproduced. As far as logic being involved in evolution, it is logical that a mutation that does not allow a mammal to breastfeed, breathe, or have warm blood will cause that particular individual either to die or to be so sickly as to be unable to reproduce. It is also logical, that's a human implication. It's also true that adaptations and mutations that are positive, for instance, if a food source is becoming scarce in one location, if several individuals within that species have an adaptation that makes food from another source accessible to them, then they will reproduce and they will flourish. Whereas the ones who do not adapt will not flourish and they will die. That's the only logic there is. You're imposing a logic of God onto the natural world, and that's absurd. It's very hard for me to rewind the YouTube video. It keeps messing up and freezing because it's so long. So I can't rewind this question, but there was some garbled thing you said about there's no logic in the fact that we have evolved from lower species. Something about Darwin staying awake at night in a sweat. There's no quote or citation to this, so I don't even know that he said that or what the heck you're talking about. So I can't answer that question because the way you said it was so garbled it didn't make sense. It made sense to you with your theistic arguments, but it didn't make sense to me why it would be illogical that we can evolve from lower primates and still be logical. That didn't make sense. There is a lot about the universe that we can't comprehend. We can't see ultraviolet and we can't see infrared. So I don't see how you have some sort of objective laws of logic for which there is a one-to-one correlation with the human brain and the separation of the brain, the hardware, from the mind, the software. This is some sort of magical hocus pocus mysticism thinking, and I don't understand what you're trying to get at. Mathematical laws, logical laws, and physical laws are the interpretations human beings have put on and the descriptions of the way the universe works. And our language is extraordinarily limited because our capacity to comprehend is extremely limited, and so are our tools. So, how do I explain these laws? I will give you a concise scientific answer. I don't know. I'm not going to have to make something up or come up with some mystical, magical daddy in the sky to pawn this off on. I don't know. I don't have to know. I'm one little human being on one tiny little rock in one tiny little solar system in one nondescript galaxy in an enormous universe that I can't begin to comprehend. Why do you feel compelled to do so? Shouldn't you treat it with awe and respect and not reduce it to the little pig pen you want to play in? Mathematical, logical, and physical laws are the building blocks on which we base everything else in our description of reality. And you know what? Our descriptions of reality change over time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's 56 degrees below freezing Fahrenheit right now, because right now it's not. But 2 years ago, sitting right where I am, I would have had to tell you that. It doesn't mean that the laws require a mind to be created. These are the fundamentals, like I'm standing on the ground. It's just a description of reality. Now, to an observer from outside the planet, I'm standing on the planet. I'm not standing on a flat surface. I'm standing on a globe. To me, it looks like I'm standing on a flat surface. But that's because my ability to experience it is limited, and so is yours. I don't explain the origin of the first cell. There probably wasn't a first cell. There were probably billions and trillions of them. Physical conditions were right. Molecules organized themselves into simple little reproducible things similar to viruses that became more and more complex because they had the building blocks and the materials and the time to do it, and things occurred. You're lying about what is taught about what happened before light, what happened before a first cell. That science teachers have to say that they don't know what happened before the first cell. That's just not true. The Carl Sagan series Cosmos came out in the 80s, and it was already well established that amino acids combine. In fact, they showed a huge beaker with a combination of those amino acids. What goes into the pre life structures of chemistry has been well documented. Now, can we set into motion life ourselves like some Frankenstein movie? No, not yet. We're very tiny little finite creatures, and we are taking our first baby steps into our understanding of reality. Does that mean that we are incorrect in pursuing this line of thought? Absolutely not. And evolution is proven. Now, you can't reproduce the entire thing from the first lightning bolts and chemical combinations on the planet. You'd have to create a whole entire model of the solar system to scale in order to reproduce that, and you'd have to do it in exactly the same time frame to reproduce that. That is why it's called a theory, not because it's some half-baked opinion. So you're lying when you say we don't know what happened before your so-called first cell. There was no first cell. There were trillions, quadrillions, more than I can count of them. I don't have any degrees because I'm low income and I'm disabled. So I can't go to university. However, I read people who have gone to university. I'm even friends with people who have gone to university. And what they tell me about molecular chemistry and physics makes a lot more sense than God just thunk it up, spit on a wad of dirt, made Adam, and then put Adam to sleep and ripped his rib out to make Eve. And then a talking snake convinced Eve to eat a fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. and then threw everybody the hell out of the Garden of Eden. Now, you tell me why what you believe is logical when I can rely on people who are well studied and who have confirmed, verifiable, reproducible evidence to support all of their arguments, and all you've got is a talking snake.